Hello everybody, my name is Noob and welcome back to episode 5 of my Ultimate Amon Guide series. In today's episode, and the next one, we're going to be discussing the ins and outs of all Amon's legendary class mods. I want to talk about what they can actually do, how they synergize with the skill trees, and share some information about what builds you can cook with these class mods in mind. As always, if you find these types of videos useful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as I have many more videos coming your way to help you on your Amon build crafting journey. But back to the topic at hand, class mods. At the time of making this video, Amon has 6 legendary class mods: Blacksmith, Furnace, Forge Master, Elementalist, Shadowrite, and the Viking class mod. To make sure this video isn't going to be too long, I'm going to talk about the first 3 in this video, and then the next 3 in a follow-up video. And I'm also going to be talking about his epic rarity class mods as well in later videos, so get subscribed so you don't miss out. Before I get stuck into it, I want to give a shout out to Girthquake and CZ47 for their contributions to testing Amon damage scaling, since they've done a lot to crack the code on how Amon works from a damage testing and scaling perspective. I'll link both of their channels in the description down below, so check them out if you want to see what they do as well. Let's start at the top with the Blacksmith class mod. This class mod gives Amon a kill skill to support a Forge Stone playstyle. We will translate what the card says from Gearbox to English. This class mod basically gives Amon the ability to extend the duration of his Forge Stones that are currently active, and at the same time, get a boost to gun damage for each active Forge Stone on the field. For some additional context, within Amon's Crucible tree, he gains the ability to spawn Forge Stones, which are basically minions. These Forge Stones deal elemental melee damage, and if you get further enough into the tree, you can make one of your Forge Stones deal Ordnance type damage as well, and as a result, it'll scale with any Ordnance related damage bonuses from other trees and passive stats on your gear. The Blacksmith class mod can roll with Tempered Pyre, Tempered Lightning, Tempered Ice, and Masterwork. Each class mod also has one fixed passive stat and one that can be random, and for the Blacksmith class mod, the fixed stat is Forge Stone duration. Pretty handy, right? Now, you might be asking, what exactly is the benefit of having extended duration for your Forge Stones? Well, the answer is a fair bit. Before I start going into this, I want to make sure you guys keep in mind and understand the fact that Forge Stones deal both melee damage and skill damage. Cool? Cool. So to start, Amon can summon up to 4 Forge Stones at a time, provided you invest your skill points more or less into every branch of the Crucible tree. For every Forge Stone that is active, Amon gets 10% gun damage. So doing some quick maths here, being able to maintain 4 Forge Stones on the field ensures you get a flat 40% gun damage bonus at all times, provided every single Forge Stone is still active. Pretty good, right? But it gets better. Across his 3 trees, Amon has some skills that give some very useful bonuses that are conditional on dealing certain types of damage to the enemy. In the Calamity tree, a lot of bonuses come from doing melee damage to the enemy. Skills like Gut Punch in tier 2, for example, has a chance to apply the weakness debuff to enemies on a melee or ordnance hit. And you guessed it, since the Forge Stones do melee damage, they can also proc this onto an enemy. Another example is Fists of Stone in branch 3 of the Calamity tree. Fists of Stone gives Amon a percentage of Forge skill cooldown reduction when dealing melee damage. So constant melee damage being dished out by the Forge Stones will be factored into your overall Forge skill cooldown reduction from Fists of Stone. So I hope you're starting to see the bigger picture here. While investment in a single tree is great, being able to draw from bonuses in multiple trees is where Amon really shines, and this is how you're going to get the most damage out of it. The persistent gun damage bonus from having Forge Stones out in the field is also handy, but make sure you're getting other damage sources as well. Things like elemental damage bonuses, ordnance damage bonuses, and crit bonuses all play nicely together, depending on the type of build that you're going for. Just make sure your choices are synergistic. So talking about the gun damage bonuses you get from the Forge Stones being out in the field, these things tie in nicely with specializations that add different scalings to other bonuses based on the amount of gun damage you have. So for example, there's some specializations that give you more action skill damage, give you more melee damage, based on the amount of gun damage you actually have for Amon. So keep that in mind when you're picking your specializations and speccing into your builds. From a Forge Stone perspective, the Endless War Augment will play the nicest here, as it allows for primed enemies to spawn a Forge Stone when killed, which will have full duration. At the absolute minimum from a skill point perspective, 17 points in the Crucible tree will give you access to all 4 Forge Stones to summon on the field, leaving you with 32 skill points to invest in other trees, or further invest in the Crucible tree itself. The next class mod we could talk about is the Furnace class mod, which is a focus on augmenting the Onslaughter skill tree. The effect of this is fairly straightforward. By default, Fellfrost, Hawkcleave, Fulminating Fist, and Stormcutter do different elemental damage types, like Cryo and Shock. But with the Furnace class mod equipped, all the elemental damage from those capstones and augments are now converted into incendiary damage. The implication of this now means that all of the incendiary damage specific bonuses can now be applied to these abilities. From a skill bonus perspective, the Furnace class mod can roll with Dragon's Breath, Raging Inferno, Maiming Strike, and Mortal Flare. Dragon's Breath converts your first shot after activating an ordnance into a huge incendiary damage amp boost. Raging Inferno allows your action skill damage to crit and apply burn to an enemy. Maiming Strike now allows your weapon crits to apply weakness, and Mortal Flare now gives Amon the ability to make weakened enemies detonate when they're killed, and therefore now gets detonation damage scaling from the other trees as well. The fixed passive on this class mod is always going to be incendiary damage, so keep that in mind when farming. Now in terms of direct benefits, like I said just before, making these abilities now deal incendiary damage means that these skills get additional benefits from incendiary damage skills in the Calamity tree, such as what burns within in tier 1 and electrical fire in branch 3, assuming you manage to apply a fire dot to an enemy. There are also some less obvious synergies with this class mod that are worth talking about too, and this starts with Dragon's Breath, which can be boosted by the Furnace class mod with a huge extra 5 points if the Gods of RNG are on your side. At a 10 out of 5 bonus, this is a 200% bonus amp damage shot, and because this is considered amp damage, it also gets additive amp bonuses from stats on gear that boost amp damage as well. Also keep in mind that Dragon's Breath scales with action skill damage, meaning you get boosts from Tritanium Knuckles for example, and any other skills or passives that boost action skill damage. Good to know if you're planning a build that intends to do as much damage as possible in a single shot using Dragon's Breath specifically. Raging Inferno is yet another skill that can be incredibly useful. It gives Amon the ability to make this action skill's crit, and if a crit does happen, the enemy gets burn applied to it. However, for now, the skill is bugged, similar to Blackout, in which even at 5 out of 5, the skill only provides the bonus for 1 out of 5. So while this skill is incredibly powerful on paper, the actual damage output is restricted for now until it gets fixed, hopefully soon. The third class mod is the Forge Master class mod, which buffs a smattering of skills across the 3 trees. The effect for this one is fairly straightforward. It lets you use a Forge skill once while it's on cooldown. In simpler terms, you can use your Forge skills twice per cooldown rotation. Pretty handy for Forge skills with higher cooldowns, such as those in the Onslaughter tree like Molten Royal for example. From a skill bonus perspective, the Forge Master can roll points at Bellows and Cast Iron from the Cybernetics tree, Smelter from the Vengeance tree, and Metallurge from the Calamity tree. All these skills tie in nicely with a build that focuses on looping Forge skills. For example, Bellows gives Amon extra gun damage after activating a Forge skill, Cast Iron gives increased Forge skill cooldown rate, and Smelter and Metallurge gives Amon extra Forge skill cooldown rate and action skill cooldown respectively. All in all, a very heavy utility focused class mod. Amon's kit has heavy synergies with a lot of effects proccing after a Forge skill is activated, even outside of the skills that the class mod itself can roll with. For example, Berserk in the Calamity tree only kicks in after activating a Forge skill, and this skill, in combination with There Is Only Red, gives Amon a very powerful damage boost which forms part of some of his strongest builds. Some of the deeper synergies that this class mod can provide is constant detonation procs through a combination of Force of Nature and Stormcutter combination from the Calamity tree, or if you're feeling spicy, like a Flangerang and Hour of the Hammer spam combination. While this comp isn't as mechanically involved as say a Furnace class mod, the Forge Master still has its place in a lot of builds, primarily due to it helping fuel a Forge skill spamming build, which can in some instances be a huge source of burst damage for Amon. However, one thing to note is that the Forge Master isn't always the answer to Forge skill spamming. While it is the path of least resistance, unless you spec into other skills that might be more useful, you can still achieve Forge skill spamming through clever gear and skill synergies, like making use of the Slippy Grenade Ordnance in combination with Fists of Stone in the Calamity tree to rapidly reduce the cooldown of your Forge skills. For Amon, experimentation is key. You can do a lot once you figure out how it works and how he clicks, and that's why you need to subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to help you do exactly that. But that's it for this episode. Like I said before, I don't want to keep this video too long, and there's a lot more class mods to get through. There's another 3 legendaries and another 6 epic class mods, so don't want to bore you guys with a massive video. But the next few we'll spend covering the rest of these things, so stay tuned, enjoy your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.